Hello again, I'm Scott Frank. I'm an audiologist in Salem, Oregon, and we're here today with my wife, who in the previous video, we went over her story about how she acquired what's known as single-sided deafness, and we talked about how there's a treatment for that called cross technology. Just a brief review is with cross technology, what it does is when someone has no hearing in one ear, in her case the left ear, she wears a device on either side where it routes the signal from one side over to the other ear. So that way she's effectively using the normal hearing in her right side for both ears. So what we're doing right now, she's actually served as a great test subject for me for the past 10 years when it comes to cross technology, and anytime something new comes out, we go ahead and have her evaluate it for us. So the system we're having her review today, though, is a bit different. So something conceptually that's come out in the last several years has been what's called Amp-Cros. And for her situation, I wouldn't normally fit her with an Amp-Cros. Amp-Cros is useful for someone who does have a bit of residual hearing in the bad ear, but at the same time, they don't hear very well with it at all, so they need that transmission from one ear to the other, but they sometimes benefit from having some direct stimulation going on to that ear. Now in her case, she has no residual hearing in that ear whatsoever, so I wouldn't necessarily fit her with an Amp-Cros. Doesn't mean I can't test out the other aspects of this by how well it transmits to the other side, sound quality, and other features with it. So this is more evaluating Amp-Cros rather than, which is a strategy for amplifying rather than a specific brand. So, and this also shouldn't be an indictment or a endorsement of Amp-Cros because she's not necessarily the ideal candidate for it. So we went ahead and used a pair of Phonak hearing aids, the Marvel M90, in order to fit her with the Amp-Cros system. So with this system, again, I wouldn't necessarily always use it for someone with your hearing loss situation. However, for you, we can still use it to evaluate how well it worked in some aspects. I'll probably later try to get a more traditional person who could benefit from it to try it out as well, but I still had you available to try it. So first thing, overall, how was the sound quality?
Sound quality was fine. It wasn't extraordinary, but I had some real issues with, by the time the volume was raised enough to bring the sound across, I would start to pick up microphone noises.
Okay, yep. And so, because in your circumstance, your right ear is normal.
My right ear is completely normal.
Right.
Left ear is completely deaf.
Right.
So.
So if both ears were like your right ear, you wouldn't need a cross system.
Right.
You wouldn't need hearing aids at all.
Right.
Okay. So then the point of having you wear it is for the cross technology, to be able to hear the sounds on your bad side better utilizing your good ear.
Correct.
So how well did the Amp-Cros work for you for that?
Unfortunately, it didn't.
Okay.
It didn't. Because the issue was, in order to bring the volume up enough to hear what was happening on this side, I would pick up too much microphone noise on this side. So therefore, the quality of the experience was not the best for me.
And that points out one of the downsides of Amp-Cros technology, or using that system, in that with traditional cross systems, we can work on microphone balance. Like if you feel like you're not picking up enough from one side, with regular cross systems, all of them have the ability to adjust the balance. So, but with Amp-Cros, you're not. So I'll probably put together another video specifically explaining what Amp-Cros is later so you can review it, and where it can be beneficial to some people but isn't always the best choice for all people. So, but again, looking at how this worked for you, so the localization, you did notice for sure that it was transmitting over, it just wasn't giving you enough.
It wasn't enough. I could pick up microphone sound when I rub, as you run your finger across the microphone, you can hear the sound on this side, which if it wasn't transmitting across, I wouldn't hear at all.
Right.
However, it wasn't picking up enough volume for those speaking on the speech aspect, or enough to help me start to be familiar with where sound was coming from. That location, the localization of sound was not happening.
And there is one manufacturer that does specifically advocate for Amp-Cros, and that's because they don't have a traditional cross system. That company is Unitron. I've actually suggested to them they need to come up with a specific Amp-Cros configuration in their fitting software that would then also allow for that microphone balance aspect. So now another aspect I like to ask people about is performance and background noise. One of the top complaints hearing aid users have is about hearing and background noise. And over the past 20 years, manufacturers have done quite a bit to improve that, particularly with the use of directional microphones. Okay, now the hearing aids you have utilize directional microphones, but on the Amp-Cros setting,
They're not available.
They're not available. So that is one downside. So for background noise situations,
It wasn't effective.
right. And so now I did actually give you a setting specifically for background noise that unfortunately also stops that transmission from the left ear,
Right.
which is the whole point of wearing the system. So,
And at which point I didn't need the amplification on this side.
Right.
So it wasn't effective.
so it kind of canceled itself out. Okay. So now a lot of the neat features in current technology is actually pretty amazing. In fact, now most hearing aids can actually be linked to a person's cell phone, and
Yes.
there's lots of different aspects for that. So when this originally came out, this is probably about the mid-2000s, and the company that first came out with this is the company that you're going to actually try next, Oticon, and that will be a regular cross system. They came out with the first direct-to-Bluetooth hearing aids. Actually, back then you had to wear a little neck loop, but now they've got it works directly with your cell phone. But with the Phonak Marvels, you have that ability too. So one aspect about that is it allows you to take phone calls through your hearing aids. So if someone gives you a call, you just push a button on the hearing aid and it answers the call. So for that, how well did it work for cell phone calls for you?
It worked very well, actually. I did have, my mother did complain about being able to hear me, but that just might be, that sound of, are you going through a tunnel right now because your voice sounds funny? But on my end, it was very clear.
Okay.
I could hear just fine.
Yep.
Just making sure that the person on the other end could hear clearly
Right.
was the only issue I had.
Right. And part of that is that with the Phonak Marvel hearing aids, the microphones on the hearing aids pick up your voice so that you technically don't even have to have your cell phone on you. It could be up to 20 feet away. Someone calls you, you can push a button and just still be doing everything you need to be hands-free, but it's the microphone on the hearing aid that's picking up your voice. So,
Right.
so it can vary how well that works from person to person. So,
Yes.
Okay. And then another aspect of this is with smartphones, in that you can actually transmit other stuff besides phone calls, such as audiobooks, podcasts, music. And how did that go for you?
I very much enjoyed listening to music while working in the backyard. That was very nice. However, I did discover that when I'd get more than just 10 feet from my phone, I'd set it on the picnic table, and if I walked away to the flower beds, it would have intermittent stopping.
Yeah. Yeah, and actually, you can. So an alternative to that is you can keep it in your pocket. But one thing I've encountered with it, because I actually have a set of hearing aids that I utilize when I go to the gym, and if I put my cell phone in my pocket, my body can sometimes block the signal. So then I put it up on the elliptical, and I'm watching a video while listening to it. Then I'll get done and go off to do weights, and they'll start cutting in and out. I mean, it's like, oh yeah, I forgot. I better go get my cell phone off the elliptical. So you still. For transmission like that, you do need to stay within range of your phone, but the actual sound quality and everything was very good.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, when I'm within range.
Okay. So, so Amp-Cros isn't necessarily the best solution for you.
No.
And you actually have used other cross systems successfully in the past, and that's
Yes.
where we're going to go to next. So our next video is actually going to be reviewing the Oticon cross system, utilizing what's called an Open 1S hearing aid. And we'll have you evaluate that much the same way that we did with this. So,
Sounds good.
all right. Thank you.